2025 was a year. It went down in the history books as one of the most eventful years for news. Almost every month, there was another big agenda item in the island, making news headlines locally, regionally, and yes, internationally. Good evening, I'm Kalisha Williams, and this is TVJ News Year in Review. Special welcome to those of you watching on onespotmedia.com and on TVJ International in the Cayman Islands. Now, this year, we're changing things up a bit from your usual news recap. This evening, we have a panel from the newsroom, all familiar faces. We have Jamila Maitland, Deane Anderson, Kirk Wright, and Andrea Chisholm. Now, we're going to get straight into it because I know some of the stories that we're about to share, some of you at home may not even remember. I mean, Melissa took our memory, right? So we're going to jump right in. It's the biggest story of 2025. On October 28, after what was a relatively calm hurricane season, Category 5 Hurricane Melissa made landfall in New Hope, Westmoreland. 45 people were killed, several are still missing, thousands left homeless. Overall, there was widespread devastation across the western end of the island. Now, before I get reactions from the panel, let's look at this review of Hurricane Melissa.
There was high anxiety as Hurricane Melissa inched closer to Jamaica.
Strong winds could persist for more than a day, according to the Hurricane Center.
But its current path keeps it on a track that's edging closer to Jamaica.
The authorities cautiously optimistic while warning Jamaicans to take heed.
We have been putting additional support for the communication needs of the Met Service in place so that you're able to get the information in a timely fashion and get the accurate information.
We can lessen damage and speed up recovery by taking preparatory and precautionary measures before the impact of the hurricane.
But the monster storm was moving at snail's pace and continued to grow in intensity. The models changed and tension grew.
This is a slow-moving system that is expected to remain in our territorial waters for a long time. It has already been here for almost a week.
The ripple effect, chaos, empty shelves, and long lines at supermarkets. Melissa moved from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane in less than 24 hours, sparing the east the worst, but slamming western and central parishes as a Category 5 hurricane on Tuesday, October 28.
Melissa is still in Jamaica.
We're here at the Black River Police Station, the divisional headquarters, where the conditions have significantly worsened since our last update. At current, a number of the glass windows to the stations have been broken.
The aftermath, Black River transformed into something from an apocalypse movie. Trees stripped bare, roadways transformed into rivers and gullies.
A significant number of buildings were damaged. On the ground, the impact is even more palpable.
Thousands without electricity, internet, or cell service. 45 deaths and destruction.
You don't need to be told. It has been transformed into a lake. This is the road that leads to the Mandeville Regional Hospital.
Sometimes it's God knows. Sometimes the man send me mad. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like it's down. So I don't scare me. I don't know. God knows. I feel fed up, but God knows. I feel fed up.
I'm happy you're here with us, and I'm happy you're still alive.
And me and my husband and my wife, and so we have to hug up and see because they know. So me have the asthma now. They hug me up tight. All we ears them a sting. Then the water swell come right up here. So
when was the last time you ate?
I tell you, say the last time we eat about Saturday because we are afraid panic. So the last time we eat, all my son, if he get medication, then wait up in the car. Every minute we are blackout. We are blackout every minute.
Over in Westmoreland, where many people called Ground Zero.
We don't have gas and food, we're not going to survive.
And many didn't. In Lennox Big Woods, for example, residents were forced to bury their loved ones in shallow graves as the community was marooned in the aftermath of the storm.
We said, no, we can't keep him because we thought it would get puffy. So we bury him.
The government was criticized for how aid was organized. thousands of people journeyed from the corporate area to offer help.
The people don't want water down here. People literally are dead for thirst, dead for hungry.
We have heard numerous reports that political representatives of the governing party are being used to distribute government relief, taxpayer funded.
We are a thinking government. The unthinking people who are selfish and just looking for benefits for themselves, they will think another way.
And the task of rebuilding seemed insurmountable. Damage was estimated at over $8 billion. And as the authorities tried to pick up the pieces, concerns about the future. How does the country build resiliently in preparation for future intense weather events driven by climate change?
As best as possible, those of us who are rebuilding should try and rebuild with concrete structures.
We need to settle the issue of land tenureship. These persons build board houses for the most part because they don't own the piece of land that they're occupying.
What we are doing now is to use this opportunity to see how best we can regularize many of the persons who have been occupying lands informally.
It's a big disaster we never expect, we never plan for it neither.
Now, looking back, everything seems so surreal. And I think we all had our own experience covering the storm because we were assigned to different parishes. Andrea, let me start with you. What was your experience like covering Hurricane Melissa?
Where should I start? How much time do we have? But
Not much.
But I can say that, well, first I was at the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management getting the updates from the different authorities from the Operation Center. Then I roamed the corporate area for a while, and that was mild. But after that, I traveled to St. James, guys. And we've shared some of these stories in the newsroom.
Yes.
It's something I will never forget. When I touched St. Anne and I saw the devastation going down, I couldn't help but shiver. Because, you saw images like these on TV from things like Hurricane Katrina, because Hurricane Ivan would have been the only hurricane that we've all would have experienced of some sort.
Yeah.
So, well, except Kirk. But right, so when I saw that devastation, I had to say, oh my God, what is this? And then I went into St. James, I saw the market, I spoke with the people, and then I heard about what was happening in Irwin. So we had a hike there. I didn't know my hike to Blue Mountain recently would have prepared me for that. We had to walk for hours just to hear what the people were saying. But one thing that stood out for me for all of this was the resilience of the people.
Definitely.
They were devastated. Some of them lost everything. But in spite of all that, they still decided to come together and they were grateful for life.
And Kirk, coming to you now, I know you were in the corporate area. Talk to me about that experience.
Well, I wasn't in the corporate area.
I mean, during the storm, but you went elsewhere afterwards.
I did a flyover.
Okay.
A flyover, first of all, I did with the
helicopter boss,
Minister of Daryl Vaz.
Yes.
And that kind of prepared me for what I was about to see. It was just, it's like, garbage littered all over the place from the air. That's how it looked. And then when I actually went into Westmoreland, the one word I would use to describe it was depressing, When you saw roofs torn off, when you look at the roads, when you look at the people just walking up and down the street with nowhere to go, that was really depressing for me. And when I went to Lennox Big Woods and I met the family who lost 2 family members and 3 houses, and a girl, her father was one of those who died in the hurricane, and she had to be there to watch him deteriorate and watched him being placed in a shallow grave. And just looking at her, you could tell how she felt about everything. That for me was just heart-wrenching. And she had to pass her father's makeshift grave back and forth to catch water. And even now, it's a family that I'm trying to work with because she's going back to school, she needs computers, she needs books, everything. It was just, it's awful. I don't think I've slept proper since that experience.
I think many of us had that experience, having difficulties sleeping. Jamila, how was it for you? Because you were also in Westmoreland with Kirk.
Right.
And you were quite emotional. We could
very
see it.
emotional.
Your eyes were just red.
Yeah, as you know, as what Kirk said, it's difficult to just go on. Even when we came back from Westmoreland coming into Kingston, it's almost as if I felt guilty because I'm like, I have a bed, I have a home, I have food, I'm not displaced. So that was really, really scary for me. Interestingly too, I was in St. Thomas before. St. Thomas experience, because that was where I was initially placed for the hurricane. The hurricane was supposed to hit the Eastern Island first before it decided to change minds so many times, that Melissa. And being in St. Thomas, the parish experienced a lot of rainfall. And so, because many communities are located close to the rivers, so we had flooding there. And also for communities in the hills, there were landslides. And after reporting on the parish, I was telling them that I may have to leave. And they were like, go reporter, St. Thomas don't feel anything. So even in all of that, they were saying they wanted coverage on other parishes. So that was very, very cool to see.
And Deane, we have 2 minutes before the break, but talk to us about your experience. You're in Clarendon. We saw you in that thunderstorm-looking scene right there.
The funny thing about this Hurricane Kelisha is that usually when we have intense weather systems, is the southern communities that are most at risk. But such was the nature of this particular hurricane, it was so unpredictable its movement that the usual suspects like Rocky Point and Portland Cottage, these parts that are usually devastated and leveled when hurricanes hit, those were almost spared entirely. Where the hurricane went? It made a beeline around this place and it went to North Clarendon, tore down hillsides, homes, and roads up in northern Clarendon because it made that little beeline across Jamaica. But one of the things that I found interesting was how people coming back to traditional media for coverage during this particular hurricane. Because even myself, when I went on social media, I became like some sort of sensation in a way on TikTok. People moved from like 2,000 followers to like 30,000 followers. People wanted to come to traditional media for information. And then the final thing I will say on this is that when I was growing up, Jamaica was like each person taking care of the other. But over time, we sort of drifted away from that. But what Melissa showed me is that Jamaica still has this spirit. And when you go out there, you see the people helping each other. They're not waiting on government. They're not waiting on foreigners. They're out there helping themselves and helping their brothers to try to recover.
Right before we go to the break, is there any one thing that really stood out for any of you? Can jump in here.
Let me say that. Let me take that offer quickly. I watch a lot of foreign TV. And I've seen war zones, I've seen devastated areas, and I could not believe. I think the most sobering moment for me during the Hurricane Kelisha was when I was saying, this is our moment. I was looking in the mirror and I'm saying, these are the Africans, the people in Haiti, people in Southeast Asia who are suffering. Jamaica is on CNN, BBC, and that's us. We are the ones down there in Black River fighting for food and suffering.
Yeah, that was very hard because I was in St. Elizabeth too, and seeing those images, it was quite heartbreaking. Now we have to go to a break. I know time is going so fast, but when we come back, we have a lot more stories to recap, some that I'm sure some of you at home forgot. Stay with us. TVJ's Year in Review will be right back. Welcome back to TVJ's Year in Review. We now continue our review of the top news stories of 2025. Now, lest we forget that just a few weeks before one of the most devastating hurricanes hit Jamaica, the country had one of the most energetic national elections in recent times. Jamila, you did extensive coverage on the campaign activities leading up to the election.
Yes, Kelisha. So 63 constituency, almost 200 candidates, 4 major political parties all vying for one government. Now, I would have worked on a show called On the Campaign Trail leading up to the general election, and it was almost like the ultimate deep dive into Jamaica's history of elections, from working with the Electoral Commission to the Electoral Office of Jamaica, seeing how the Political Ombudsman Office would work the first time since it's being wound up for a national election. The General Secretaries, all the works. Now, Kelisha, she gave me strict orders, so I'm working.
Yes.
And we're going to just give you a synopsis of the general elections in 2025.
And the general election date is fixed at Wednesday, September 3.
It was one of the most highly anticipated general election yet.
What time is it? What time is it?
The Jamaica Labour Party set out to seek a historic third consecutive term with Dr. Andrew Holness as its leader.
One Labour Party! One Labour Party!
The People's National Party trying to return to office since 2016, but this time with Mark Golding at the helm.
And if I crowd, me win. If I nice, me win. And if I vote, me win.
And so the race was on. The political party workers first out the block. But before the candidates could face off, there was a musical clash.
I am blessed.
Dubs and actual political party song clashes.
Choose Jamaica.
We're on a mission to lift up our communities.
Then there was the clash of words on the platform.
Andrew Holness want to tell me that 2 taxi made him a billionaire and none of we never take none of them taxi there yet? Was it a space taxi?
And I will take on Mark, Damien, Deane, Michael. I will take on all of them one time because me alone can take on all of them and slew them one time.
Slew them and their feelings them a carry. Them done go already and them can't say them sorry, yeah.
And a clash of crowds. Campaigning returned in full swing in 2025 after it was restricted by the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. But as voting got underway on September 3, there was seemingly another candidate on the ballots, apathy, which was in the lead. The Electoral Office of Jamaica announced a disappointingly low 39.5% voter turnout.
An healthy democracy is predicated upon high levels of participation. And ideally, the voting is the most direct way or means for citizens to influence government. And people have withdrawn. They're retreating from that basic civic duty.
Prosperity and progress filled the EOJ's constituency map. So did petulance. The JLP achieved a historic win with 35 seats to the PNP's 28.
This is a victory for our founder, Bustamante, for Sir Donald Stanster, for Hugh Shearer, for Edward Philip George Tiaga.
And as the celebration filled the air, transforming the JLP headquarters on Belmont Road into an emerald city, the orange invasion that gathered at the PNP headquarters on Old Hope Road slowly began to disperse.
I think it's my duty as a believer in democracy to acknowledge and concede the result and to congratulate our opponents, the Jamaica Labour Party, for their victory tonight.
No, that was quite an election. What is really sticking out for me right now is the songs.
Yeah.
The songs really, they were really catchy. What was your experience like, Andrew?
We want to start. First of all, we're all political junkies already. Stable.
We had to be.
The office, when we had our discussions about what was happening on the campaign trail in the different camps, that was something else, not for TV. But I can tell you, you mentioned the song, that song, Blood and Fire, hands down, regardless of which side of the political divide one is on, I think that was one of the best songs.
They're playing at parties now.
For this campaign, and you hear different remix too. Exactly. For this campaign
just
season.
to interject, even JLP candidates who won were playing that song in celebration. So
I can tell you something, because I was at the JLP headquarters on the night of the election, and at one point, they started playing one of their popular anthems, and then the selector started playing "For We Are March," and the entire JLP supporters started dancing, and he just cut it and said, "No, we're not playing that one right now."
It was you who suggested in the newsroom that, you know what, if it were you would have changed it, and you won, the JLP should have used the PNP song. That would have been interesting.
It was a good song, hands down. Doing quickly.
Yeah, listen, I talk to God all the time. I pray all the time, and I know God doesn't get involved in these very competitive, environments. But let me tell you, man, I was in China for 4 months, and I was praying every day that Jesus, do not make Andrew hold his call this election while I'm in China. And I'm telling you, man, I was there sitting, clenching, and I got home for it. Because let me tell you, people, all of you here know, I'm an Aki at election time. I love politics. But you know, the only thing I found, one of the few things I found instructive in this election, I started covering elections from 2011. I don't want to age myself, but I've been in this for 16 years. And I worked in like 4 elections, and going into all of those elections, I could tell you who is going to win that particular election. This is the first election I went into where I could not tell you who's going to win the election.
But I can say though, if we can be honest though, at the end of the day, when we were doing our analysis, you have some of us who predicted it.
Yes. Some of us got it correct.
We actually, but I think it changed.
We actually had a little board in the newsroom where we were trying to figure out what was going on. JLP how many seats, PNP how many seats, and I think it was just about 2 persons or so who got the prediction correctly.
I won't say
but it was rough.
I won't say where I went with my predictions, but I'm telling you folks, I came down to 30-30, and I was like, I'm looking at momentum, I'm looking at history, I'm looking at vibe on the ground, and I just couldn't call it. And you know what I said? I just gave the other one 33 and the other one 30. I won't tell TV Land which way I went. but one thing that sort of disappointed me though was the turnout. It was around 40%. I've never seen an election like this other than as they call her Mama P. That was the only election I've seen that come close to this one in terms of energy and vibe when she was going for the first time to become Prime Minister. This one had so much energy and vibe and momentum and excitement, and it was still 40%. I cannot fathom it. I cannot digest it.
And crime-free.
That's important. Very quickly, Deane, you talk about how close it would have been. What was mind-boggling for me was when I visited some of the constituencies and you're on the ground and you're talking to people and you just couldn't decide what was going to happen. You're in an area that was traditionally a PNP stronghold and you're getting wind of some other things. You're in an area that you think the JLP would have retained and then you're getting wind of some other information. It was a very tough election, but I'm happy our democracy worked, and I hope more people will go out to the polls and vote.
Okay, we have to wrap up the election conversation right now. Moving now to crime, which was another big story in 2025, right, Deane?
Big. As you would have mentioned in the newsroom, on any other year, this would be our lead story in the News Year in Review. 673 murders. Jamaica trying to shake that tag of being one of the bloodiest in the region. And as I said, any other year, this would be the story we're talking about. But 2025 almost came like it had about 18 months in it because there were so many big stories.
But we definitely cannot talk about the reduction in crime without looking at the increase in the number of police fatal shootings. That was a sore point for many Jamaicans. Take a look at this report.
For decades, Jamaica held the tagline as one of the hemisphere's bloodiest nations. But in 2025, the country continued to shake that label. For the first time in decades, the island recorded fewer than 1,000 murders, In total, there were 674 murders in Jamaica.
I'm not telling you that Jamaica is the safest place, but we are certainly safer today than we were a decade ago.
Police Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake credited the hardworking men and women of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, intelligence-led policing, as well as continued investment by the government for a successful year of crime fighting.
This year, Era 1, led by ACP Glenn Miller, represents the greatest source of reduction. Across the western parishes, murders and shootings have fallen sharply, and overall major crimes have declined significantly.
Crime declined by as much as 58% in some of the most volatile police divisions. Overall, there was a 41% decline in the murder rate when compared to 2024.
All divisions in Era 4 recorded reductions in murders, including Kingston Central with a 33% reduction, Kingston West down by 43%, St. Andrews Central down by 62%, St. Andrews South, one of the toughest divisions to police, reduced murders by 38%.
But despite that, the police remained at the center of criticism. While the murder rate went down, there was an increase in police fatal shootings.
When the shot got through your son's body?
I glazed off my daughter and it stuck right in my shoulder.
311 people were killed by members of the security forces in 2025, compared to 189 in all of 2024. Again, it reignited calls for body-worn cameras.
The Commission is particularly concerned with the number of fatalities that result from planned operations. Body-worn cameras and their deployment will provide a neutral and unembellished account of what transpired in any security force civilian confrontation.
Deidre Thomas, TVJ News. Now, despite the island recording fewer than 1,000 murders for the first time in decades, the Commodore mass shooting in Linstead St. Catherine left a stain on the country. On Sunday, October 5, 5 people, including a child, were shot and killed after gunmen dressed like police officers opened fire on them. Sandy Williams went to the scene and filed this report in October 2025. In the stillness of Commodore, grief hangs heavy. What was once a peaceful Sunday night turned into terror and tragedy.
It was at this bar tragedy struck last evening. Persons were gathered here, some on the inside, some outside. Residents say it wasn't anything special, just the usual Sunday evening chill out when gunmen dressed like police officers appeared and opened fire. But the carnage didn't stop right here. At the back of the bar, there's another entrance and exit. Bloodstains, blood clots, and slippers left behind by the victims, all grim reminder of the horror that unfolded.
In the end, 5 people were dead, among them 4-year-old Shannon Gordon, a student at Rosemount Primary and Infant School. She was reportedly running inside the yard when the men chased and shot her multiple times.
For somebody to turn an M16 on a 4-year-old, it speaks to the kind of evil mindset that we have to encounter out there, and that we have people living among us who, continue to perpetuate the kind of violence and evil intent on our people, good citizens. It's really, really a very bad situation.
Now, after weeks marked by Hurricane Melissa's devastation and disappointment on the football field, Jamaicans were again forced to confront unsettling news. Now, this time from the global stage. Miss Universe Jamaica Gabrielle Henry fell from the stage during her competition in Thailand. That was a very difficult news week, at least for me. Let's go to this quick report from Nakinsky Robinson.
Miss Jamaica Universe Dr. Gabrielle Henry, crowned in August, was hospitalized after suffering a serious fall through an opening on the stage during the preliminary evening gown competition at the Miss Universe pageant in Thailand in November 2025. The incident resulted in an intracranial hemorrhage with loss of consciousness, a fracture, facial lacerations, and other injuries. Initial reports from organizers indicated Dr. Henry did not suffer life-threatening injuries. However, on November 21, it emerged that she had been admitted to the intensive care unit, remaining in Thailand weeks after the competition concluded. The 2025 pageant, already marred by controversy, burrowed further into the hot seat after Miss Haiti suggested that comments by Miss Universe staff appeared to place responsibility for the fall on the 28-year-old contestant. That prompted backlash and renewed debate about safety and accountability on the international pageant stage. Despite the criticism, supporters rallied around the Jamaican representative with messages of concern and encouragement pouring in from home and abroad. Her return to Jamaica in mid-December was not a victory lap, as the beauty queen arrived in a wheelchair, then transferred to a stretcher and transported by ambulance to hospital, with her family confirming she is continuing her recovery locally. Nakinsky Robinson, TVJ News.
Now, before we go to the break, Kirk, you had something to say?
Yeah, so I have a couple of people who I know laughed when Miss Universe fell.
Laughed?
They laughed. And I keep saying to them, don't laugh at someone else's downfall because you never know. I mean, she could have hurt herself, she could have died, you know? So
badly.
People, and they could have happened to you, a child of yours.
Yeah.
What if, you know, this happened to your child at school and the child get hit in the eye with a stone and the child got with one eye? How would that, you know, fare it for you?
Yeah.
Don't laugh.
Yeah. She's back home now and she's recovering, and we want to wish her all the very best.
That is good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we now head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more stories to recap. Stay with us. TVJ's News in Review. We'll be right back. Welcome back to TVJ's Year in Review. We now continue our review of the top news stories of 2025. Andrea, you covered another controversial issue, Dennis Chung's appointment to the Financial Investigation Division. What can you tell us?
Well, Kels, I'll keep my comments short for this one. There were debates and even protests about Dennis Chung's appointment to the FID. Let's take a look.
May 28, 2025, the Finance Ministry announced that Dennis Chung was appointed Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division FID. Chung, with his bachelor's and master's degrees in accounting, had over 35 years' experience. The resume? Extensive. It includes certified public accountant, financial controller, chief executive officer, and general secretary. He also served on various boards under both the JLP and PNP administrations, as well as director at institutions such as the Bank of Jamaica. The private sector organization of Jamaica supported the move, but the opposition PNP rejected Chung's appointment and even led a protest near the Finance Ministry.
A man who has publicly attacked the Integrity Commission report and publicly disagreed with its findings, and publicly said that Andrew Wonis has done nothing wrong. So why would a man that has already declared his bias in the public be appointed as the same agency, to head the same agency that is to do the investigation?
Mr. Chung, a popular financial analyst and a commentator, made public comments about the Integrity Commission's report on the statutory declarations of the Prime Minister. That report was referred to the FID, the same agency he was appointed to lead.
The FID investigates financial crimes. The person in charge must be somebody with experience in that. The person who they've appointed is just an accountant, has no forensic experience, no law enforcement experience. no anti-money laundering experience. It is inappropriate in every way.
Later,
a stunning revelation that experience in law enforcement was removed from the requirements for Chief Technical Director of the FID when the job was advertised earlier this year.
The new advertisement said the ideal candidate should have a postgraduate degree in management, public administration, criminal justice law, or equivalent qualification, and 12 years experience, 5 of which at the senior management level. It was a shocker to some, as former FID bosses included senior police officers.
Civil society groups, the National Integrity Action, NIA, and the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, JAMP, are calling for clarification on the selection process and the criteria used for Mr. Chung's appointment.
The Finance Ministry said the process was transparent, and Mr. Chung had the education, experience, and skills for the job.
Normally, in the course of advertising for jobs, if you go out once, if you go out twice, and you see that you're not getting the skill set, the particular skill set, and the job description allows you to be flexible, then obviously, as a responsible HR person looking to fill the position, then you would do that. That is what was done. There's nothing underhanded about it. It was all transparent. And we have a very competent person heading the FID currently. And I look forward to continue working with him.
Now, where were you guys on June 18? I know hundreds of Jamaicans spent hours in line waiting for chicken. I know you forgot that story now. KFC celebrated 50 years in Jamaica with a promotion dubbed Big Deal Brata. Customers who purchased a big deal got a free meal deal, with their order. It led to widespread chaos and confusion across the island as KFC lovers flocked the restaurants island-wide. Did any of you cash in on the deal?
Well, I'm just going to make something public, Kirk. You have a lot of people in the newsroom who are heavily invested in KFC.
They should have been here and not us.
Every single day.
Romardo,
their butts are bigger than us.
Someone called the names, Deidre and Rashida. Yes.
I know a lady
and
who
Romardo.
said she called in sick
what?
at work to join the line to get their KFC. I'm flabbergasted. I don't know how. I don't know. Me can cook.
Yeah, but KFC chicken tastes better than yours. Anyway.
I would give up my seat for Romada and Deidre and Rashida to come explain their love relationship with KFC.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
They took advantage.
Well, he may not be here sitting with us on the panel, but he was in downtown Kingston talking to the people. Here's Romardo Lyons with this KFC story.
People like Dawn say come what may, dusk or dawn, she's not leaving without chicken.
Yeah, I want my chicken. I want it nice, spicy. You see the barbecue? You see the original? I'll be something.
So you say this, the long line now deter you from going in?
No, you're mad. Me have to go in there. I'm a friend, have to go in there too. The whole of we have to go in there. I'll pack up in there. Got me a chicken. Yeah.
No teeth, no problem.
Having a denture, you can't eat the chicken same way. You understand? All a woman there, she just take out her teeth and a KFC she a wait for. You understand? Got it full of spice.
On Port Royal Street, birds of a feather, from schoolers to adults, even babies in proms. Several customers say they expected the crowd, but they're still crying foul.
But I think KFC could have done a better job in getting to control. They are expecting it as well. So when I was looking at it, because I've been here from 10 o'clock and I decided to come across at 11 to show you I can't manage the crowd. I was that close to the door and I was pushed out.
Man, how many meals are you planning on buying today?
Actually, it's one because tomorrow is my birthday, so I wanted to get something. This is my first time trying for something free.
Well, that was quite a story, was quite a day. Now staying on a chicken-related topic.
Oh, wow.
Another story that I didn't, when we were talking about the year in review, I didn't remember this story. I didn't remember it happened this year.
Yeah.
And I remember Deane was telling me that it's her #1 story for 2025. Now, earlier in April, what started as a great mystery on a beach in Helsha, St. Catherine, later turned into a neighborhood feast and fiesta. I'm talking about the container with the chicken that washed ashore the beach and was later emptied by residents in Portmore. That was against the advice of the health ministry. So many things happened this year, and as I said earlier, I completely forgot about this story.
And what's interesting is that Kelisha did that story as well.
What did you guys think when you first heard about the container?
Listen, we've Jamaicans, we've had too many scares since 2017 with viruses and diseases for us not to take our health seriously. I could not believe it. Listen, I was in China about 2 days after this container washed up, and there were about 5 colleagues from the Caribbean there, and I was at pains to explain to them that this is not how we behave ordinarily. Hold on. Wink, wink. That is not how we behave. They were calling me Yardman. They were like, Yardman, when does go take up chicken and eat? So I was like,
You mean?
we'll be all right. It was absolutely crazy. They would say on social media, my flubber was gassed. I could not understand what they were doing.
Yeah. What did you hear, Kirk? Because you're always on TikTok.
Yes.
Well, he's a TikTok boss. I'm just following him. But you know, as it the container land said vanished.
Yes.
I never found it strange because make a truck broke down now anywhere on the street and
No, but that difference. At least you know where it's coming from.
Oh, it's food.
Yeah. Go fast. Me the first punch on already. I see one man carry one bed pant up a truck and the bed fly off, you know.
Yeah.
And before I got to it, somebody moved across the road already, you know. Must there's food?
No, it was crazy.
Never get the time for
Stop.
I know. No. Well, I personally went to the container and found a story. Listen to a bit of what happened.
Right now, so to speak, I have a couple in my fridge. You know what I mean?
You eat it?
Consume it, you know?
Consume it.
Yeah, man.
Get about 14 bucks. You see me? I don't have no problem with them. Same day I fry, same day I jar. Same day I do everything with chicken. Honestly, I was about 3 pack me have out of 14 bucks.
So what you do with the rest? Sell, consume?
What me do? Yes, man, remember, so we have to hustle in here, you them have to survive, you know. Yeah, man, so we sell, we consume, we have feast out of it. Get a lot and share it with my neighbors.
But they insisted the chicken was good quality and frozen solid when they were removed from the container.
No, man, it's enjoyable. We all enjoy it.
So are you still consuming it?
Yeah, man. I should have some bucks of money in it. You see me? I mean, I show you a thing. Some people from other place, man, I vex, she wanna feed them here, right, dropping it, you see me? She drop over Elsha over here, so I will have get chicken by boxes and chicken by case. Give them a tab on about. The chicken them no good.
Now, we've been asking our friends on social media which news stories they thought were the biggest in 2025. Let's go to some of those responses.
Melissa, the biggest story. Because Melissa come and destroy everything. I don't see that more.
The election did bigger than Melissa. The election was a big defeat for the people of Jamaica than Melissa.
The election wasn't any greater for to me because Mr. Holness has won. And it wasn't any surprise to me. And Melissa just took it. Melissa took it without a doubt. And the support that the Jamaicans people got after Melissa is just a plus, a big, big plus.
It would have to be the Melissa story. I mean, in my lifetime, I believe so far it's the worst thing that I've ever seen happening in Jamaica.
The top news story last year was the general election.
Melissa, over the election, because the election don't really do anything to anybody's life to change it, but Melissa did.
Melissa.
What do you remember about it?
Well, it was devastating because I know some people don't get like electricity yet.
Melissa overall. For Melissa, it's a historic moment for Jamaica.
Police killing them, killing off the youths them.
We don't know what really go down, but that is a big story.
The very biggest story for me for 2025 is the effect of the Hurricane Melissa, and have family members that that have been disrupted. I have an aunt up to now I can't locate from Lucy Hanover. We have to remember that God is responsible for these things. You have to wake up, and that's what resonates in my mind.
On that note, we go to another break, but stay with us. More stories right after these messages. Welcome back to our year in review. We continue our review of the top news stories of 2025. Now, the rural school bus system was launched by the government in 2025 in response to decades of appeals for a safe and reliable public transportation for students in rural Jamaica. Let's take a look.
Long waiting period, crammed vehicles, an expensive yet uncomfortable ride, plus fatal crashes. Just some of the many problems facing students as they travel to and from school. To help fix the problem, the opposition PNP proposed a transportation subsidy of about $500 per day for 20,000 students.
We are going to provide, under the RIDE program, a subsidy to help them to get to school and back, starting with 20,000 children and building from there.
Look how much places you find it difficult to taxi in our run come up there because it's a farming community. So those who have availability problems, we will contract the private sector providers to make sure we subsidize that trip, that they can make the trip into the interlands and come out back so picnic can reach a school. That means that the money is going in the pockets of the private sector like the taximen.
Having won the general election, the governing JLP rolled out its plan, a rural school bus program. 110 buses costing $1.4 billion. 60 of these yellow buses were deployed under Phase 1, equipped with speed limiters and surveillance cameras. The buses purchased from the United States were retrofitted, doors relocated from left to right side, and new tires added. Still, there were mechanical and safety concerns.
The average mileage on the buses being brought in is approximately 135,000 miles, with some having as low as 70,000 miles. The average age of buses being purchased under the Rural Transportation Bus Initiative is 10 years old. Some are below 10 years old, as low as 8 years old. The suggestion that discarded previously immobile buses were purchased are false. The buses purchased have at least 80% of their mechanical life left.
Phase 2 of the rural school bus program was launched in November with a tender for 150 buses.
Now, this story went on for a while. I remember, as you saw earlier in that report, just the arguments from the opposition, the government doubling down on the plans. Talk to me about just covering that story, and Andrea.
Well, first of all, all of us had to take the bus to school.
Yes.
And when our vehicles break down, sometimes we still have to take the bus. So for me, public transportation is a sticking point. It's because of and let's call a spade, a horrible transportation system in the corporate area.
Corporate area.
Right, in the corporate area that forced me to buy a car.
Yes.
And so it's something that I really paid attention to, and I know that successive governments over the years have tried to do things with JUTC. Now we're hearing about the school bus, and then we're hearing about the taxi proposal that the PNP had. But I think a mixture of all three is going to be beneficial to get the students and the public moving, because let's face it, if you can get to work on time, comfortably and relaxed, you're more productive.
Right, right.
I remember because I'm from rural Jamaica, and when I had to take when I had to take the bus to school, and I was talking like to my friends in Kingston, and they're paying like $20, $30. I'm like, my mother had to give me like $500 for public transportation because it was just so expensive in rural Jamaica. So I was happy, you know, when I saw that. But again, you know, some of the concerns people raise, you had to look into those as well.
I appreciate the arguments, you know, but you know what? When you look at social media, after the buses came out, the school children were just elated. It's like, wow.
Well,
I remember Jolly Bus.
Sorry.
Cheesy is the closest
No, I don't mix it with you. I've heard about Jolly Bus.
Okay, I wouldn't.
Really, Cheesy?
Yes, what that's
You look
right.
like a Jolly Bus girl.
There's a song about Jolly Bus, Jolly Jam or
I can picture
I've
Jolly
heard
Bus
about
now in that park downtown, St. William Grand Park. You used to park, you used to take Jolly Bus on the step near drive on Jolly Bus, you know.
Well, since you go there,
Yes,
Kurt.
70 years ago, Kurt, that was pretty fun. but what I really think what the bus argument also did, because you remember that it also carried over into the campaign trail, and the campaign trail was sort of, you know, oscillating and meandering through some little, the rare and the excitement as we come to expect in our political discourse here. But this almost gave us another opportunity to zoom in onto some topical, important issues. As you said, it's public transport. And I also have to go back again to being in China, where I saw how they operated and how efficient public transportation was. And I was thinking, if something like this could work, it could not only have an impact on just improving or the way we move, but it could have knock-on effect, like giving people more time to live, you know. If people are able to get children off the road faster, safer, people can go to the park to jog, people can get time to go to gym, people can go have a drink. You don't have to be out there in Carmageddon warring with taximan, busman, and kids to get home. So it was really a good sticking discussion point about transportation in the election.
What I think we should do, don't drop the ball now, find out how well the buses are doing, stick with it, because that's important.
Right, and as Andrea said, like a general approach won't solve everything, because some of the buses, as we would have seen on social media, can't go everywhere.
Exactly.
Despite them being significantly smaller than JUTC buses, you also need the highest you also need to engage some of these private contractors. And I think the minister some time ago said that there would have been a pilot project for some of these small-scale bus operators, public transport operators, that is, to engage them with the schools so they can now become that safe and reliable transportation for students who live in even the more remote areas.
If we fix the road network,
that too.
We would be here for days.
No, that is, we are going to need 2 more hours to do that one.
Exactly. That's a conversation for another time.
Right.
But what we're focusing on now, or next, another big story of 2025. After a 10-year snag, the long-awaited Mario Deane trial came to a close, and although it wasn't the outcome his mother, Mercia Fraser, had expected, she was just elated that it was finally over. 31-year-old Mario Deane was beaten to death on August 6, 2014, while in custody at the Barnett Street Police lockup in St. James after he was arrested for a ganja spliff. Before I go to the short clip of Mercia Fraser, I would like to hear from the panel on this one, because I know almost all of us did a story involving the Mario Deane trial, because it happened in 2014. Well, I was still in university. Jamila probably was in university.
Still in university, but I was very much
So what
aware.
happened, Kirk, Mario Deane, did you cover any of those stories?
The thing, initially, but what stood out for me is the fact that she was there right through. She never dropped the ball. Even when it was her alone out there, she was out there and she made her point known, you know? And I'm sure persons will, you know, take an example from a leaf from her book and just stick to it. It was her child and she never dropped the ball in at all. Big up to you, Mercia Fraser, wherever you are.
You know, I almost grew up in media on this particular story, so I was almost, you know, personal with it, even though it didn't affect me as a family member. And it taught me two things. And to advance Kirk's point, it doesn't matter how poor you are, or oppressed you are, or underprivileged your circumstances may be, if you persist, it just shows that there's some justice out there for people. And if you persist, it might take a while, but there's some justice. And also, it shows that, listen, I grew up in a community where I've seen many Mario Deanes. They didn't have the end where he, died, unfortunately, but I've seen many Mario Deanes. Rastafari Mario Deanes, bald-headed Mario Deanes, being harassed by agents of the state for a spliff. And it just goes to show that, listen, and it's telling the police officers and the agents of the state that, listen, when you're doing your job, when you're executing your job, you have to be responsible, you execute your job and do it professionally.
On that note, Deane, I have to go to this quick report from Kimberly Petty. She filed it in May, right before I go to the break. Let's go to that clip.
I'm standing outside the Westmoreland Circuit Court, where a 7-member jury returned a guilty verdict for the 3 cops charged in the death of Mario Deane. Corporal Elaine Stewart and Constables Juliana Cleven and Marlon Grant were all found guilty for manslaughter, as well as misconduct in a public office, while Corporal Elaine Stewart was found guilty for doing acts tending and intending to pervert the course of public justice. Mario Deane's mother, Mercia Fraser, left this courthouse this afternoon feeling fulfilled.
I was nervous. My belly was like, I was nervous totally. But when I heard the verdict, I just feel that sigh of relief on my body just. It's a sigh of relief. I feel much lighter, but at the same time, after all this, all the pressure that you go through and everything, it's just overwhelming.
Now, in July, 2 of the 3 cops convicted in the Mario Deane trial received suspended sentences. That meant they were not sent to prison. Both constables Juliana Cleven and Marlon Grant were each sentenced to 3 years for manslaughter and 1 year for misconduct in a public office. The manslaughter sentence was suspended for 3 years, while the misconduct sentence was suspended for 2 years. The third cop, Corporal Elaine Stewart, was sentenced to 5 years for manslaughter, 1 year for misconduct in a public office, and 1 year for perverting the course of justice. Her sentences are to run concurrently, but Stewart was released on bail pending an appeal. I had to add the latest update on that story. Now it's time for some responses from we've been asking our followers on Instagram. What do they think is the top story for 2025? I'm going to ask Kirk and Deane to just go through those responses.
Kirk, you can go first.
When Deane spoke about the bald head and police harassment.
Okay.
Anyway, so Willory Wilson says the story that has me puzzled and angered at the same time is Jaden Smith's disappearance. It's almost a new year and still no Jaden. Where is he? Have the authorities called off the search? Question he's asking.
Big question. We have another response from Ariana Anna Mommy World. Jaden Smith. Oh, she's also feeling that story, Kirk. Jaden Smith's disappearance, the election, and the hurricane, Melissa, were big stories for me. I would say the hurricane is number 1 because of the death toll. 45 people died. Environmental, mental, economic, and social impact.
Okay. And from Hey _ it's Lady Hutchinson. Hurricane Melissa by far.
We have another one there from, what's that, Dave Lee? Dave Lyle, 6. The biggest story, the people, they must suffer. The economic issue, I'd imagine, yes?
And Mr. Stepper, 3rd term.
Okay, so he's general election. Okay.
Right. Historic 3rd term for the JLP. And Rosalie, Kirk's friend. And we have a lot of friends named Rosalie Kirk.
Okay.
Perhaps even including the one on
Melissa.
TikTok.
What did Rosalie say?
Aftermath of Hurricane Melissa.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, one more. I think there's another comment.
There's one more?
Kirk can't find that now, please.
Well, I think from the comments, it's clear to see that much of what social media is saying is also concurring what we have also done
exactly.
And let's confess, when we were supposed to be doing this year in review, we were trying to think of the top stories.
Yes.
'Cause usually as journalists, we start brainstorming. So we get the ideas out and start jotting them down. Oh, Chizzy, what do you think the top stories are? Melissa. And then we all got stuck.
Yeah.
But thank God for this thing called an archive.
We're able to come up with a few.
Because of Melissa, it almost felt like last year, 2025, had about 20 months in it. It was when Kelisha reminded me of some of the stories, I'm like, double check that. That sounds not like 2025. And in fact, many of them were like up to April and May in 2025. It's just that the hurricane and the election
wiped out everything.
Or memory.
Including our memory.
I know the conversation getting interesting, but I have to go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more stories. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You're watching TVJ's 2025 Year in Review. The story I'm going to know is also an interesting one. Did any of you visit the new Chinese mechanic shop that had almost everyone in the corporate area talking, or perhaps someone you know did? Yes, that story also happened in 2025. Let's go to this recap from Romario Lyons.
Wholehearted Car Service Limited took Jamaica by storm. In April 2025, the garage in Ferropen St. Catherine captured headlines across the island, particularly because of how Jamaicans demanded its service. Example, in the black of night, this woman camped out to be the first in line when the business opened the next morning, a sheet and pillow on her seat.
But everybody's talking about this. Just like with KFC just opened, everybody want to try it. So I'm here for try it out.
Others praised the cheap service charges.
Between $180,000 to $250,000 because I was told by a transmission expert that I needed a new transmission. In total, $30,500, and I'm able to drive home, and I'm very happy.
Scores of motorists waited at the gate. Parked cars stretched for meters. One even dragged to the location with a rope. Some sent warnings to local mechanics.
Car dealer, car parts place, a mechanic, saddle up, new guest in town.
But was it short-lived? The business made headlines again when the Ministry of Labour launched an investigation to determine whether labour laws were upheld.
At the beginning of this, we said, listen, there needs to be strict compliance to our laws, and we would advance fairness, and we will actually facilitate and support reopening.
Many motorists were left with a frown, but 2 months later, the business was given the green light. At the time, the minister said the reopening was dependent on several conditions.
One, they have to make sure that their staff members enroll in the Heart Trust prior learning process so they can get the certificates to establish that they are working at the standards that Jamaica requires.
Another, the submission of a list of all Jamaican workers, including their wages within 3 months of reopening. Romario Lyons, TVJ News.
Let's talk about Portmore now. Plans also intensified in 2025 for Portmore to become the island's 15th parish. It came after the proposal was outlined in the Jamaica Labour Party's manifesto during the 2020 general election cycle. Now, I know on February 11, the government used its majority in the House of Representatives to push through the Counties and Parishes Act of 2025 to give Portmore parish status. And the Senate later passed the bill on February 28. The opposition remained resolute that it would not support the move, claiming the government is simply pursuing the matter for political gains. Any quick comments on this one?
Chizzy.
It's legal action.
I think so.
Why did you all put that over to me?
You cover these stories.
Yes.
There was an RGR poll commissioned on this issue, though, and it was very interesting what the people had to say about it. And the people's opinions were a little bit shared. But what I do remember from that story was that a lot of people were saying, listen, use the time and energy and potentially money to instead build a hospital in Portmore, give us some more infrastructure, the part that you promised, market. Those are what the people were saying when you spoke to the people. But really, this issue also spilled over into the general election campaigning and was also a hot button topic, with the opposition obviously suggesting that the JLP is trying to use it as an opportunity to, garner votes from particular communities, while the same criticism was leveled by the JLP to the other side.
Yeah. I must note that while there were plans in place, there are still plans in place for the municipality to become the island's 15th parish. There were some delays which saw the matter spilling over into 2026. For instance, the ECJ only started fieldwork in late April, that was last year, for the mapping of the new boundary. And Director of Election Glaspole Brown said that would take some time to do the fieldwork. And this was Mr. Brown. We have a clip addressing the constituency's boundaries committee in April 2025 on that matter.
The fieldwork involves two primary objectives. First, we must investigate in the field the new St. Catherine and Portmore parish boundary. To achieve this accurately, our team will be physically walking the boundaries, accompanied by guides and key stakeholders. And secondly, it is critical that when we do that work, we capture the GPS coordinates for the new polling division boundaries within the parishes of St. Catherine and Portmore. These changes encompass splits and mergers for existing polling division. It also will require the renumbering and potential renaming of St. Catherine constituencies affected by the alignment. It also will require the renumbering of associated St. Catherine electoral division, followed by the renumbering of polling divisions within those affected constituencies. And it has to be agreed upon the official naming and numbering of the 3 designated Portmore constituencies. That will be critical in terms of naming those new 3 the constituencies that should remain in Portmore.
So it will be interesting to see how this one unfolds in 2026. Andrea?
Well, we spoke about that. We're going to segue to another issue that is much closer to home. So we know that on Sunday, that was December 14, our parent company, the RGR Gleaner Communications Group, which is in charge of Television Jamaica, we got news that our CEO, Anthony Smith, had died. I remember, guys, I was at home that Sunday when I got the news. I knew of a few things prior to that, but I didn't think it would have resulted in that. And I just want to say that for the brief time that I interacted with Mr. Smith, he was a very decent man, very easy to talk to.
Personable.
Very personable.
Accommodating.
Very accommodating. Exactly. And I remember we had one particular issue in the newsroom, and he came to a meeting with us. He committed to addressing the issue, and he addressed it. And that to me told me he was a man of his word. He listened to what staff had to say, and he was a man of action. And I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to spend some more time with him.
Same. When I got the news, I remember I was driving and my colleague called me, and I had to pull over because I didn't even know he was ill. I was in shock. To be honest, I was in shock, and it was just so. At one point, it felt surreal. I'm like, you sure?
Yeah.
You sure? It was quite devastating.
A message to me is that in the midst of life, there's death.
Right.
So live our lives, love people, and just carry on.
Yeah, I had a personal experience with him too because RGR is such a big company. A lot of times CEOs, you may think that they don't know everybody because really and truly, like, they don't have the time to know everybody, but they will interact with you. And, you know, I saw him, we have a section in the company called Yellow Brick Road. If you've been here, then you know where that is. And I was walking on the Yellow Brick Road and we were passing each other. And he was like, Jamila? I was like, yes, because the CEO knows, so you know, you're pulling. I was like, yes. And he was like, you know, I saw a story that you didn't know and I like it. And I was like, okay, thank you. He's like, you act like you don't know me. I said, I didn't know you knew who I was because I came at RGR in the pandemic. And so, you know, things changed. And when he came, as I said, he wanted to know everyone and he wanted to be a part of what was going on.
Quite involved.
So it's just very sad. And
Mr. Smith about TV.
Condolences to his family. You know, just a sad moment.
Yeah, we're smiling because the memories that we have of him are happy memories.
We've actually to Donald Oliver.
Yeah,
condolences to his family, friends.
That was also a tough
big
one
loss
for
too.
me as well.
Have to mention that.
Doing a quick comment on the
We've actually opened up a condolence book here at RGR, and the same thing that I wrote in it is the same thing I'm going to say here on TV. What a loss.
Yeah.
What a loss, a big loss. Listen, you can tell when somebody's going to make a difference, and it's not easy to run a company which has like, 12, 13 companies in it, and you can tell when somebody's going to have an impact on a company.
Yes.
And what a loss, man. I can just imagine the loss to his family, but from a corporate professional perspective, is a major loss to us in terms of what we wanted to achieve here with a leader in place.
Okay. Yeah. And as we continue to honor his life, let's take a look back at this video.
Mr. Smith passed away early on Sunday after a brief period of illness and hospitalization. He served the RGR Gleaner Communications Group with distinction for 3 years, joining in October 2022 as Deputy Chief Executive Officer for Print and Digital, and later appointed CEO in January 2024. An engineer by training, Mr. Smith brought decades of leadership experience, holding senior executive roles across Jamaica and the wider Caribbean. Group Chairman Joseph Matalon described Mr. Smith's contribution to the company and the media landscape as outstanding.
I am deeply saddened by Anthony's passing. He is a person that, in addition to our professional relationship, I considered a friend. He has made a sterling contribution to the group over the last several years, which will stand as a permanent, will stand as his permanent legacy to the organization.
Okay, let's now go to some of the notable losses in 2025. Some other people we lost in 2025. must say it was quite difficult even putting that together because we lost some of our former colleagues, other people from the media fraternity. It was quite heartbreaking. And that's it for this year's Year in Review. I'm Kelisha Williams. Special thanks to my panel, Jamila Maitland, Kirk Wright, Dwayne Anderson, and Andrea Chisholm. And thanks to you at home for watching. Until next time, have a good evening.